For decades, American encryption has been the invisible shield protecting everything from the Pentagon to your bank account. But an urgent warning from a leading US scientist reveals China may have already shattered that shield with quantum supremacy, a technology that could unlock Western secrets in minutes. Their 4,600-kilometer quantum network is now live, while less than 20% of US systems are quantum ready. Could America's digital defenses collapse before anyone can react? To understand how real this threat is, we have to start at the quantum foundation, where information itself gets rewritten. At the heart of quantum computing lies a concept that defies everyday logic. Instead of bits that are either 0 or 1, quantum computers use qubits, quantum bits, that can exist as 0, 1, or any combination of both at the same time. This phenomenon, known as superposition, means a single qubit can carry far more information than any classical bit. Imagine flipping a coin and having it land not just heads or tails, but both at once until you look. Now multiply that by hundreds of coins, all interacting in ways that cannot be predicted by simply adding up their outcomes. But quantum strangeness does not stop there. When two qubits become entangled, their states link together so completely that a change in one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance. In practice, entanglement allows quantum computers to process vast webs of possibilities simultaneously. If superposition is the ability to be in multiple places at once, entanglement is like having those places connected by invisible threads, so a tug on one immediately shifts the entire network. A classical computer, even the fastest supercomputer, must check each possible solution one at a time. A quantum computer, using superposition and entanglement, can explore an astronomical number of solutions at once. For certain problems, like factoring enormous numbers or simulating complex molecules, this leap in parallelism means tasks that would take billions of years on today's machines could finish in minutes or seconds. The physical realization of a qubit varies. Some are built from superconducting circuits chilled to near absolute zero. Others use trapped ions, photons, or even atoms. What unites them is their ability to maintain fragile quantum states long enough to perform calculations, a challenge that drives the race for stable, scalable hardware. These core mechanics, superposition and entanglement, form the engine of quantum power, setting the stage for a new era in computation and in security. In 1994, mathematician Peter Shor discovered a quantum algorithm that would redraw the boundaries of what computers could solve. Shor's method, designed to factor large numbers, was not just a clever mathematical trick. It was a direct threat to the digital padlocks guarding nearly all sensitive information online. The security behind RSA and ECC encryption, used in everything from online banking to military communications, depends on the sheer difficulty of factoring massive numbers. Classical computers, even the fastest supercomputers, would take longer than the age of the universe to break these keys. But with Shor's algorithm, a quantum computer could do it in minutes, if it had enough stable, error-corrected qubits. This is the bridge between quantum theory and real-world risk. Shor's algorithm does not just speed up factoring, it changes the rules entirely. The difference is not about making things a bit faster. It is exponential. A problem that would stump a classical computer for billions of years becomes trivial for a quantum machine running Shor's code. That is why the term quantum supremacy carries such weight. It is not just about outperforming the best classical computers on a puzzle designed for quantum hardware. It is about reaching the point where quantum machines can break problems that classical computers simply cannot touch. Problems like the cryptographic locks securing global communications. The path from mathematical insight to practical threat is now alarmingly short. As soon as a quantum computer achieves enough scale and reliability, today's encryption collapses. The world's digital secrets, personal data, financial records, classified government files would be vulnerable to anyone with access to the right quantum hardware. This is not a distant, theoretical concern. The only thing standing between the world's data and quantum decryption is the current pace of hardware development. Every new qubit, every improvement in error correction brings that reality closer. The race is not just about building faster machines, it is about staying ahead of an algorithm that has already shown the locks can be picked. Across eastern China, a silent revolution in communications infrastructure is already complete. Stretching from Beijing to Shanghai and reaching as far as the coast, a quantum backbone links 32 city nodes across 4,600 kilometers through a dense web of more than 700 fiber optic cables. This is not just a pilot project or a laboratory demonstration. The network, built by China Electronics Technology Group and the University of Science and Technology of China, operates as a fully functional quantum key distribution system called QKD, designed to resist both classical and quantum hacking. At each node, quantum repeaters extend the reach, allowing encrypted signals to travel hundreds of kilometers without losing their fragile quantum properties. Data is encoded in single photons and transmitted along these fibers, with each photon carrying a quantum key that can detect even the faintest attempt at eavesdropping. If an intruder tries to intercept the key, the act of measurement itself changes the quantum state, alerting both sender and receiver. This principle, rooted in the laws of physics, is what makes QKD fundamentally different from classical encryption. Micius satellite. The backbone does not stop at the ground. In 2016, China launched the Micius satellite, the world's first quantum communication satellite, into low Earth orbit. Micius acts as a relay, beaming entangled photons between ground stations separated by thousands of kilometers. In 2017, Pan Jianwei's team successfully demonstrated satellite-to-ground quantum key exchange between Beijing and Vienna, setting a world record for long-distance quantum communication. Today, Micius links the terrestrial fiber network with space, creating a hybrid quantum internet that covers more territory than any other system on the planet. Operational. This infrastructure is not theoretical. Banks, government agencies, and critical infrastructure operators in China already use the network for secure communications. The system's scale and integration are unmatched, providing a backbone that could, in principle, support quantum-safe transactions across the entire country. While Western nations run limited pilot programs, China's network is operational, visible on the ground, and expanding. The physical presence of fiber, the count of city nodes, and the live satellite relays offer concrete evidence. The world's first quantum-secure national network is not just planned, it is in use. The implications for cybersecurity, espionage, and global power are immediate and far-reaching. In March 2025, a group of Chinese physicists at the University of Science and Technology of China unveiled Zhuangzi 3.0, a superconducting quantum processor boasting 105 physical qubits. The chip's architecture, 15 by 7 with 182 tunable couplers, places it at the leading edge of global hardware. In published experiments, the Zhuangzi team selected the 83 highest performing qubits and ran a random circuit sampling task, pushing each qubit through 32 cycles. The results were staggering. The processor completed the sampling in a fraction of a second, a task that would have taken the world's fastest supercomputers millions of years. Peer-reviewed analysis confirmed a speedup of 6 orders of magnitude, 1 million times faster than Google's Sycamore chip, which had previously set the standard for quantum supremacy in 2019. Zhuangzi's gate fidelities were 99.90% for single-qubit operations and 99.62% for 2-qubit operations. These values approach the theoretical thresholds needed for error correction, though they are not yet at the level required for cryptanalysis. The team's demonstration was not limited to raw speed. The processor's stability, coherence times, and readout fidelity all surpassed prior Chinese and American public benchmarks. These advances allowed the random circuit sampling experiment to run at a scale and depth previously thought unreachable outside of theory. At nearly the same time, a separate group at the University of Science and Technology of China announced Zhuzhang 3.0, a photonic quantum computer that performed boson sampling with 255 photons, another world record. While photonic systems are less suited for general-purpose computation, this result signaled China's capability across multiple quantum hardware platforms. Both Zhuangzi and Zhuzhang are the product of a centrally funded, multi-year push, with teams led by Zhu Xiaobo and Pan Jianwei, names now synonymous with China's quantum ambitions. These demonstrations are not yet proof of code-breaking power. The tasks are carefully chosen benchmarks, designed to be hard for classical computers but not directly applicable to encryption or military secrets. Still, the leap in scale and performance is undeniable. For the first time, Chinese-built processors have outpaced every Western rival on public quantum hardware tests, raising the bar for what is possible and what is at stake in the race for quantum advantage. American quantum policy has unfolded in the shadow of legislative complexity, tight budgets, and a divided expert community. The National Quantum Initiative Act of 2018 promised to keep the USA at the forefront, but the numbers reveal a stark gap. By 2025, China will have invested $15 billion in quantum research, over a third of global public funding, while the USA lags at $4 billion, just 12%. This shortfall is not just financial. It means fewer test beds, slower infrastructure, and agencies like NIST, DOE, and NSA duplicating efforts instead of working in concert. Private tech giants pour money into quantum, but public coordination remains fractured. Federal audits have exposed the slow pace of real change. Reports from the Government Accountability Office and CISA show that under 20% of federal endpoints have shifted to post-quantum cryptography. Most agencies are still cataloging assets and running pilots, not deploying at scale. The Department of Homeland Security projects that even by late 2027, half of government systems could still be using outdated encryption. This lag leaves sensitive networks open to harvest now, decrypt later attacks, where adversaries stockpile encrypted data waiting for quantum computers to catch up. Inside the scientific community, the timeline for quantum risk is a fault line. Some policymakers and national security officials warn that China's centralized push could shrink the window to just 3 years before quantum computers threaten real-world encryption. Others, including top cryptographers and hardware specialists, argue that practical quantum code breaking is still 5 to 10 years away, citing persistent issues with error rates, qubit stability, and the massive overhead for fault tolerance. Dr. Scott Aaronson, a leading theorist, notes that while China's progress is real, no system today can run Shor's algorithm at the scale needed to break modern codes. This debate shapes how Congress spends, how agencies plan, and how industry weighs risk. As urgency collides with bureaucracy, the USA risks falling further behind in a contest with global stakes. Military secrets, financial stability, healthcare records, and even the nation's power grid now stand exposed in ways never before imagined. The threat is not just theoretical. Intelligence officials warn that adversaries are already intercepting encrypted military and diplomatic transmissions, banking on a future where quantum computers can break them open. An approach known as harvest now, decrypt later. Every intercepted message, every stored password, every classified document sent between bases or embassies could be decrypted retroactively once quantum code breaking becomes practical. This means decades of sensitive intelligence, troop movements, covert operations, and nuclear command codes may be vulnerable to exposure, not in some distant future, but potentially within a few years. The financial sector faces a parallel risk. Global banking relies on cryptographic protocols to secure wire transfers, authenticate transactions, and guard the integrity of markets. If quantum computers can shatter these digital locks, the consequences could be immediate and catastrophic. Fraudulent transfers, manipulated accounts, and a loss of trust that ripples through the world economy. Security analysts at major banks have already begun contingency planning, but most systems still depend on encryption that quantum algorithms are designed to defeat. Hospitals and healthcare providers, too, depend on RSA and ECC to protect patient records and medical devices. A breach could mean not just stolen identities, but the manipulation of life-saving equipment or the exposure of millions of personal health files. Cybersecurity leads at major hospital networks have described the threat as existential. A single quantum-enabled attack could disrupt emergency care across entire cities. Critical infrastructure is equally exposed. The power grid, water treatment plants, and transportation systems use encrypted controls to prevent sabotage. With quantum decryption, attackers could hijack these systems, causing blackouts or worse. Sector representatives warn that the window for deploying quantum-resistant safeguards is closing fast. The risk is not abstract. It is woven into the daily function of society, touching every home, institution, and person connected to the digital world. A coordinated national response begins with a clear mandate. Every federal agency must migrate to post-quantum cryptography, not in pilot programs, but across all endpoints. Congress can accelerate this by establishing a dedicated quantum defense task force, modeled after the rapid mobilization seen in past technology races. This task force would hold direct authority over procurement, standards, and compliance, cutting through the bureaucratic gridlock that slows current efforts. Immediate funding increases are essential, matching China's $15 billion in public investment, not just in research, but in large-scale deployment of quantum-resistant systems. Targeted subsidies can help critical infrastructure sectors, banks, hospitals, and utilities replace vulnerable hardware and software, offsetting the high costs of transition. Procurement rules must require post-quantum algorithms for all new government contracts, with strict deadlines and penalties for non-compliance. Budget lines should be earmarked for workforce training, supply chain upgrades, and independent security audits. The private sector, especially in finance and healthcare, should have access to federal grants for rapid upgrade cycles. The checklist is straightforward. Mandate post-quantum cryptography. Fund the rollout. Enforce compliance. Empower a single authority to drive the timeline. These steps, if enacted now, offer a path to close the quantum gap before the window closes. The physicist's voice carries a weight that is hard to ignore. He speaks not from a place of panic, but from years spent watching the horizon of technology draw closer, faster than anyone predicted. We are. He says his words are measured, deliberate. The advances we have seen in quantum computing are not just milestones for science, they are warnings. If a nation can use a quantum machine to break the codes that protect our secrets, our banks, our hospitals, our power grid, then our entire way of life becomes vulnerable. Act now. He pauses, letting the silence press in. We have less time than we think. The window to act is closing. Once these machines reach practical scale, information we thought was safe for decades could be exposed overnight. This is not a distant threat. Our adversaries are moving with speed and unity that we have not matched. Every encrypted message intercepted today could be opened tomorrow. Now his tone sharpens, but never loses its calm. We cannot afford to wait for consensus. We cannot wait for the next budget cycle. Every day we delay, the risk grows. The responsibility sits with us, scientists, policymakers, citizens, to demand the transition to quantum-resistant security now. The clock is ticking, and the consequences of inaction will not be measured in lost data, but in lost trust, lost safety, and lost sovereignty. History. He ends with a final, unblinking statement. If we fail to act, history will not forgive us. China's 4,600-kilometer quantum network and its 105-qubit Zhukongzi 3.0 processor represent the most extensive quantum infrastructure publicly documented to date. Yet, no verifiable evidence confirms any nation can currently break modern encryption at scale. Less than 20% of U.S. federal endpoints have migrated to post-quantum cryptography, while 4 NIST-approved algorithms now set the standard for future defense. Classified capabilities on both sides leave key questions unresolved. How close are we to practical quantum decryption, and what is already being harvested for future exploits? Historical warnings about technological surprise now echo with new urgency. The available evidence shows that the quantum race is not theoretical. It is a present, accelerating contest shaping global security. As government audits and expert panels confirm, the window to act is measured in years, not decades. The outcome will depend not on secrecy, but on who adapts first.